you everybody for joining us. This is a space on a deep dive into NFTfi solutions for liquidity. I am your host, Ladder. We are a decentralized NFT automated market maker for EVM chains, so blockchains that use the Ethereum virtual machine, including Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance. We are currently preparing for our testnet round 2 launch, which is expected to launch in about 15 hours from now. We're going to be having a NFT trading simulator on our protocol. It's going to be a competition. There's going to be prizes, and we're going to have a whitelist pinned at the top here in a second. So if you want to join, feel free to click on the whitelist and submit your information. Frank, why don't you go ahead and take over from here?
Cool. Well, nice to meet you all. My name is Frank. I'm the co-founder and law keeper of Apeiron and Funamagus. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, to be invited. I'm actually much of a learner, much like everyone else. Pretty new to this space, although our product has been in development for a long time, 7 years now, actually. But we only ventured into the NFT space for 2 years now. But yeah, still trying to learn a lot more from many other OGs. And today, I'm glad to be invited here to help co-host and learn a lot more. Actually, this came as a really good time as I'm also giving a speech this Saturday in Bitcoin Thailand Genesis. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about as of right now, so I do need to do a little more research. Yeah, anyway, thank you for having me. And it's my pleasure to talk a little bit more about the deep diving into NFTfi. This is actually great because, well, our game is actually coming up very soon. Our demo is also coming up. We have our own marketplace and everything within our mints. It was pretty successful back then, but the volumes and trading actually had always been a major problem and a kind of focus that we want to focus on. Much like many GameFis out there, we within our mints, we had a great ride, but during the bear markets, especially the second half of this year, it's been really hard trying to drive up users and volumes. So would love to see what these three platforms here, especially Ladder, NFTtrack, and GameSpace, can help regarding this. So without further ado, I think I'll let our guests as well today, NFTtrack and GameSpace, to introduce themselves a little bit before I go in and ask more questions. All right. Well, maybe let's start with the host today. Cam, do you want to give a brief introduction about yourself and a quick overview of your project before we dive deeper?
Yeah. So, like I said, we are Ladder NFT. We are an automated market maker. We provide instant liquidity for NFT swaps with low slippage and low fees. We are pretty excited about the future of GameFi, and we're excited to have these partners here with us today. So, yeah, let's get to NFTtrack. Are they here with us?
Yeah. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Yep, you're clear.
Guys. Oh, cool. Yeah. Good morning, Frank and Jonathan. So this is Ray. So we are team NFTtrack, and I am the marketing representative of our team. So yeah, I'm very honored to be here to discuss today's project in the NFT field. And actually, let me have a brief introduction about our team and product. So our product, NFTtrack, is a free and user-friendly apps on mobile for NFT collectors, and most especially for the newcomers in the field, to learn and understand the NFT market by tracking the KOL and whales, as we said, for their trading activities. So our app basically is like a mini applications of OpenSea or Blur, something like that, but it can provide like blue chip index and a lot of other like analytic signal for you to trade the NFT. So it's more like a NFT tool in your app, and you can use even on your train or outside and live away from the computer. So moreover, people can use our app as an NFT aggregator to trade NFT by connecting third-party wallets timely and safely. So I think our product right now is have been recognized by a lot of KOLs, and yeah, again, I'm very glad and honored to be here to discuss with you guys with three fantastic projects, NFT projects. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Can I ask a quick question? So is it like copy trading?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah.
Is this like copy trading from typical?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the advantages of the mobile apps is you can get some trading activities very timely. So you basically when somebody, especially the whales, they buy some items, then you can immediately do some copy trading. So the purpose or the aim of our NFTtrack is not let people to trading to copycat only, but also it can educate people to understand the behavior of the whales, of the NFT OGs, like how they trade NFTs. So our purpose is focus more on the monitor the behavior of their trading activities. So yeah, of course you can choose to copy trade, but actually you need to stand some risks, as you know. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be sure to circle back on this because I'm a big fan of copy trading. Back in the days when I was a beginner. So, but yeah, it arises many other problems as well. But we'll talk about it later. Let's invite our last guest today. I believe it's Michael. Is it on behalf of GameSpace? If I'm not mistaken, was it Fatalis?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Can you guys hear me clear?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. Always love talking on Twitter Spaces. I think I do too many Twitter Spaces in one given week, but always enjoy them, and good to learn and good to share insight. So I'll do a brief introduction about myself and then jump into what GameSpace is. So I've been in the industry since around 2013. Launched a lot of interesting projects over the years, mainly focused on layer one, transitioned into DeFi, and then now into GameFi. And so the main reason why myself and my co-founders started GameSpace is we noticed a huge issue with the industry, and that's that the early games that were launched in GameFi were, to put it frankly, pretty bad. Mainly, they're too focused on the tokenomics and DeFi side of things, so much so where we can even not really consider them as games and more just like 80% DeFi, 20% game. And so how do you solve this problem? Well, you shouldn't have blockchain development companies or blockchain developers trying to build games, because then you just end up with a game that completely relies on tokenomics. And if tokenomics fail, then the game, no one wants to play the game anymore, and no one really goes back to play the game because the gameplay was never good to begin with. So GameSpace, what we do is we focus on basically upgrading Web 2 games to Web 3. So working with AAA gaming studios that are, around for a very long time in the Web 2 industry. So very professional and elegant at building, high quality games that Web 3 has yet to see. And so the benefits of doing this is that, they're focused on what they're good at, and we're focused on what we're good at. And so basically we provide a GameFi as a service SDK. If we integrate our SDK into their game, we can actually upgrade their game with all of Web3 functionality in about under 7 days. So that includes, NFT marketplace, the ability for them to create and mint NFTs in an easy-to-use dashboard, the ability for them to deploy on a long list of chains that we support, and so on. So there's a lot of functionality that our SDK allows them to do. And so, the importance of this is that it kind of goes back to where Web 2 gaming companies are not professional in Web 3, and Web 3 blockchain developers should not try to build professional games. So if we ever hope to make the GameFi industry better, we need more infrastructure and more tooling companies to provide these types of solutions so that we can all enjoy GameFi and hope to onboard more Web2 gamers into the space, which is super important to make GameFi not a bubble.
Oh, incredible. Agree with almost every single point you talked about there. But I guess, well, I met you guys too late. And I actually took a deep look in the website, and I found my CTO to look together with me. And would love to circle back regarding those SDKs, because we've been trying to go through the white paper, but can't break down too much stuff right there. Anyway, I'm sure we'll meet again, and actually we'll meet very soon. So I'll be messaging you on Telegram, asking for a meeting to talk about those SDKs as well. Okay, I see we have one. Oh, sorry, Michael. If you want to cover that.
Oh no, I just for sure, no worries.
All right, and I see one more speaker, Vitalis. Cam, is Vitalis from another project or from
Yes,
Ladder?
so Vitalis is the COO of Ladder. Vitalis, do you want to say a few words about Ladder, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So, as you can see, Ladder is automated market maker for NFTs. So our main goal is to bring liquidity and to make liquidity kind of accessible for NFT traders. That's the main focus. That's a few words about us.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Frank, so did you have a starter question you want to get us going with the topic?
Yeah, I think, the main topic today, I actually read a lot of it. So I I actually wanted to have each of our guests give a quick rundown of the materials they have prepared. But I want to leave, as with a lot of AMAs that I've been trying to do recently, the usual typical introductions and shilling looks a little boring. So I pretty much want to shorten the introductions as much as possible and save more time for more critical questions that may be more relevant to the markets right now. Even let just the audience have more time to ask more questions so that the space can be a little more interactive instead of a few hosts talking amongst themselves. Anyway, without further ado, I guess let's focus a bit on today's topic as well. How exactly does this NFTfi and this deep dive onto liquidity, a deep dive into NFTfi, these projects provide more liquidity, provide more, how do I put it more elegantly? To provide more value in general to the entire NFT space, and to some extent even the GameFi industries as well. So what's up? Well, the host, Ladder. Cam, do you want to take it? Or do you want to let Vitalis take this one?
Yeah, let's Vitalis take this one.
All right.
Okay, so yes, as for NFT trading, we're looking from the perspective of liquidity. So, and that when the market is bullish and everything is growing, it's not an issue, and everybody is happy, both traders and holders. But as far as market turn red, we're seeing issues, and from both sides. Like if we're speaking about trading, like guys that are flipping NFTs are facing slippages, and if we're speaking about like other strategies, more long term, or your favorite like NFT collection is part of your digital identity. In that case, you can just face liquidity issues, and you would like to get some like more liquidity actives, and you don't want to buy, let us say, to sell your NFT, but you're forced to do so, and there are some like other tools that allows to increase liquidity, like lending, fractional ownership. But we believe that market shows that it didn't find its product market fit yet, at least for the wide audience, and AMM should be much more convenient for the most users, as it is provide like more instant and more cost-effective transactions for both traders and holders, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's interesting. We just talked to a project called Therian like a week or two ago, and they're also an AMM. And also we asked quite a lot of questions, a lot of the basic stuff regarding this liquidity providing is actually incredible, especially for a lot of GameFi projects. That's actually a lot of great game projects out there. Is having trouble regarding these liquidity issues. But so actually, if I recall, there's also another one I forgot the name right now. But so how exactly does Ladder stand out amongst these other AMMs that are also emerging out here right now, especially in these markets?
I believe that in the market there is room for different players in our own way, like with revenues, with talking both token holders and Veg NFT holders. But all I know is it's usually about like just building great product that is used by users. I mean, like if you're doing that is something useful and adds values for ecosystem for as a tool, that's the main goal for us. Of course, probably some features will find its users. Probably some competitors will be better in one features, but we have pretty strong focus, and everybody could test everything starting from tomorrow. So very soon as we're launching our testnet, and I'm sure that, and we have some traction last few weeks that our audience is growing and we're getting good feedback and had nice feedback from testnet round 1. Trying to improve fast and hear our audience product feedback and just develop in this direction.
Well, that is great to hear, because what we need in these markets are more actual products that we can test and get our hands on. And this is probably the best way to continue building and learn more about the potential of the ecosystem as a whole. Cool. Well, thank you, Vitalis. Well, let's move on down the list to NFTtrack. We'd love to learn a bit more about, let them expand a bit more on the potentials of this tracking of whales, best flippers. I took a look around their Twitter. I absolutely took my time seeing that thread they wrote about the recent analysis on the biggest NFT holders, the biggest flippers, the most profitable flippers, so to speak, and the volume traders. A very interesting data tool set. I want to see what the NFTtrack has planned further down the roadmap for everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Yeah, so let me elaborate a little bit more about our product and how we intend to tackle the liquidity problem. So actually, our product, starting from the point of teach people how to get into a relevant new area, which is like NFT marketplace. So a lot of people come to this place, and as a newcomers, they don't know which project is good or bad, and they don't know what kind of the project they can buy. And most importantly, because people come to this area because of the profits or either their interest on NFT, but most people will be happy if they earn then they lost money, right? So actually, we're starting to build this product from the angle of the newcomers. So as we start the project, we ask our problem from us, like how we can help people to get into this area very easily. So the best way to learn new things is to learn from the giants. So actually, we do a simple things. It's like we try to figure out in this field which kind of address are the whales, which means they have a bunch of the Ethereum's value assets. So actually, after you track this, we do a little bit more things. Is that we link this address to their Twitter account via some our technologies. So actually, we can know about, like, if you really download our app and you actually go to import your Twitter account. So the whales or the KOL you followed, you can know what exactly activities they do. So then you know like what is popular in this field. And actually how we tackle the liquidity problem. I think just now the Frank mentioned that the copycat things, right? So he shows a lot of interest on the copy trading. So this is very common in the crypto trading market or the traditional trading markets. And yeah, we must admit that because of the volatile and the liquidity problem in the NFT marketplace, so the copy trading will only increase the risk of your investment. But actually, I think what's different in this area and what difference between the NFT markets and the crypto markets is that when you do the crypto trading, actually you only know the address who bought it, but actually in the NFT field, not only the address you can know, but you can know exactly who they are on the Twitter. So I think this sort of like kind of increase the confidence of the people and help people to decide which NFT projects they want to buy. So this is something we intend to tackle to help the newcomers or the NFT traders to increase the confidence of their investment. And secondly, I want to mention that actually NFTtrack is not only an NFT tool, but also it is an aggregator like Blur or Gem. So basically, we right now already integrate a lot of marketplace like the OpenSea, XUY2, and we are intend to integrate something like Blur or SudoSwap. And in the future, we can of course like integrate the latter as another NFT marketplace. So actually, such things can help. I think the NFT aggregator can definitely solve the problems of the liquidity to help people to find the cheapest item in the NFT marketplaces. So that's why we think we are sort of like trying to tackle this problem and try to make it the marketplace more smooth to trade. Yeah, I hope this like answers sort of your questions. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely answered a lot of it. And to give a bit on copy trading, to put it simply, it's just well, if we can copy the top traders, well, it's actually one of the best ways for beginners to learn the space. You don't have to do all the research, and you can just do exactly what the professionals do. So yeah, I learned to copy trade when I was very young, when I first learned. But yeah, some of the problems that arise regarding liquidity and volatility was very well answered by you, and also Leather here actually answers much of the liquidity problem should certain projects have problems in the future. There's actually something great in the works, I guess. But ultimately, there's also, well, in most copy trade platforms, is that the traders themselves ultimately have a lot more to benefit and earned compared to the ones who copy off them, and really want to see how this will evolve, because when I look into NFT trading, of course it's great for beginners as they learn, but as they learn and develop more, there'll be problems arising. As always, it's actually a great platform for trade leaders, for whales and KOLs, but further down the line, it's always the first money in, first money out. So how exactly would NFTtrack help? Well, probably help educate. This is extremely important. Regulate, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. That's a great question, actually. So yeah, just like you mentioned, like people who are the KOLs almost can win or can earn more money than the copy traders. I must agree that, and of course, like this is sort of the people who are willing to open their address to let people to copy their trades, because they help to increase the price and help them to get it out sooner, right? So actually, let's imagine things like when you come to the condition like what kind of projects you really want to buy, it's not only by one KOL or by one whales, right? Let's say like for one people who is a KOL by let's say by a BYC, right? Okay, so right now as a newcomers or as a people who really want to buy it, they at that point they don't have really too much confidence to buy it until when the second KOL or the third whales they come to buy it, then your confidence level will be increased better and better. So this is something our product right now is solving. It's like we actually not only copy trade one OG or one whale's activities. So in our data base, actually, for example, we have a rank list of our whales. So let's try to imagine a condition like if an NFT connection pump in 15 minutes, and in this 15 minutes, in our rank list of whales in our database, like 50% of the whales come here and to buy these connections. So you can decide at this kind of the percentage you want to buy it, or you can set this threshold like 20%. So at this stage you are not only copy trade one whale, but it's a data set or it's a group of people. I think that one really helps people to learn and to gain the profits. So this is something we think we are different from the traditional one or the crypto trading markets. And this is something I think is fantastic in the NFT markets because you don't need to just trust one people, but you can trust a group of people, which we say is a community or it's an alpha group. So this is something our NFT tool can provide to the learners or to the NFT traders. Yeah, I hope this answers your question. Yeah.
Most definitely, and definitely piques a lot of interest. I think this is a very, very useful tool, and would definitely want to delve a bit more into the findings that you guys have accumulated over these past 2 years, especially with the rise and fall of the crypto markets. That there's a lot of interesting stories and findings you guys must have garnered over this past time, and really hope this can help project what the future of NFT markets will be like in the next year. I actually have my own version, but yeah, definitely hope to listen more of this a little later. Well, finally, let's listen to Michael from GameSpace and see what this cross-chain functionality of this is to offer. I think a lot of developers out there, before they come to this space, this is probably one of the best dream come true for most of them, because honestly, every developer out there promises or will want to promise that cross-chain functionality is the end game. But now we have a solution here, right from the beginning, at the start, in 7 days, pretty much like how God created Earth. But anyway, I digress. So yes, we'll definitely love to learn more how GameSpace is going at it. Oh, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, I mean, let me break this down into 3 points, and I'll talk first about the issues with the industry now, and then how GameSpace is solving them with our solution. So first of all, the current industry is far too fractionalized, and what I mean by that is there's too many silos of information and too many silos of communities where that was not really the original intent with the industry. Whereas, for example, a project is supporting Aptos or one project is supporting Ethereum, those users typically don't tend to cross over. I think that this is not a problem with the project's choice, but more or less a problem with the integration of chain and also the decision that the company makes onto which chain they should deploy on. So a lot of companies, when they're deploying their product, whether it be Gamify or, ENS solutions, anything, they never necessarily look at what is the best chain for us. And not only that, but what is the best chain choice for our users? So a lot of people will hop on Ethereum because, it's big, it's stable, it's secure. But you know,
That's me
with
right
with GameFi, what we see a lot is if you're choosing to deploy your game on Ethereum, it's a terrible choice. And the reason why it's a terrible choice is because GameFi assets are not meant to be BAYC. Whereas, you know, a BAYC holder, he's okay to spend 1,000 USDT in gas fees to mint his 100K Bored Ape. Whereas a GameFi asset is meant to be like an in-game sword or a in-game armor or some type of buff that can be used in game, where if you're using Ethereum, typically the gas fees tend to be more expensive than the actual NFT themselves, which is exactly the wrong thing you want to do for your users. So I think the first thing is choosing the right chain for your project, super important, but also not limiting your project to just one chain. You know, multi-chain is something that everyone still kind of thinks as a pipe dream, but it's actually not. It's very achievable, and GameSpaces actually have, you know, real life cases of games that exist in the market that are already multi-chain, meaning that the game is deployed on one chain. Users can play, one user can play the game with another user. They can be on completely different chains. If user A wins an asset from user B, and those assets are on different chains, then what it does is it destroys the NFT on one chain and mints it on the new one. So all this stuff, it exists. It's already there. And so to not implement this type of thing in your game to draw in more ecosystems and more users, you're just hurting your project by limiting it to one chain. So that's kind of the first point. Second point that's still kind of within the fractalization is cross-chain. Cross-chain and multi-chain are two different things. So cross-chain is more or less talking about being able to move NFT assets from one game to another game that are on either the same chain or different chains. I think this is definitely the next big wave that we will start to see. And currently our SDK supports both of those models that I just suggested. So we definitely focus on very much the future building of where GameFi is going. So now on to my second point, which really is hurting the industry now, is the onboarding and on-ramping. You know, a lot of projects, they choose to be decentralized for the sake of being decentralized, which is not always the best choice. Like, for example, with GameFi, actually what we notice a lot with Web2 gaming companies that want to move into Web3 is they actually care a lot more about centralization. And it's not because they want control of the assets or anything like that. We have a very interesting custodial service where we are slightly centralized, but actually the users still technically own the assets. And so there are ways to not create a awful onboarding experience, like throwing private keys and seed phrases in the faces of Web2 users. This is not how we're going to draw more of them into the industry. You know, they need to be able to log in to purchase crypto with very familiar things: Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, lots of different channels, Apple Pay. And in terms of onboarding, they need to be able to sign in with Twitter, Discord, Steam, any type of, familiar platforms, rather than having to create a MetaMask wallet to be able to sign up to your game or purchase an NFT. These are not convenient channels. So I think choosing to be decentralized for the sake of being decentralized is one of the worst decisions that projects can make. It really depends on the type of product that you're making. I'm actually all for decentralization. I think it's exactly what the industry was built for, but there's a time and place for everything. And so I'll move on to my third point, and I think this is probably the most harmful thing to the industry now, which is that the industry is still kind of living in the PFP phase, and they haven't really transitioned into the fact that not all NFTs are PFPs. For example, SBTs, ABTs, these types of tokens are much more focused on the utility side of things and less focused on the NFT rising to 100,000 US. The era of Bored Apes, in my opinion, is gone. If you missed out, there's not going to be another project that comes out that will have the type of volume or trading that existed with projects, say, like a year ago. And especially in GameFi. If there's a game that exists on Web3 and the NFTs are trading at 100K, I can't see many people playing it. especially since the majority of GameFi users actually come from second and third world countries. We can see that a lot with the data. So typically with GameFi, we need to focus a lot more on free-to-play, and we need to implement more airdrop opportunities with very easy onboarding to draw more users into GameFi. And only then can we actually bring GameFi up to the standard and quality of what it is in Web 2.
Absolutely agree with a lot of your points. Actually, one of the main points in my presentation back in the days when I pitched to a lot of investors, when they ask about adoption, I always say, dude, my focus on adoption is on the product itself and on creating a better story and better game. The technological adoption, I believe there's actually a whole wave of companies and developers doing that. I just have to follow the best practice and work with them. Why should I divert my resources into developing tech and having my tech team do more stuff when there's already so many companies out there doing these stuff? So can't agree with you more on this point. But ultimately, still, as the games and as security-wise, probably one of the more common questions being asked, I guess, would be, so in a certain degree, well, I'm actually not all for decentralization. I always believe Web3 is actually the best testing grounds to test what form or what balance of centralization and decentralization should a community, a society, or a platform determine. Because, that's the Chinese side of me. There's always a balance of things, and maybe the answer is not in one or the other, but a little mix of the other. And it also calls for relativity and situations. But anyway, I won't digress. When it comes to security, so this is probably one of the main concerns most people have, because in a way, it's kind of similar. What GameSpace is doing is similar to Binance. It's actually create the wallets, so the sustainability and the security of your platform is of the utmost concern, because the most common misconception or the common conception when they hear about these custodian wallets and these cross-chain functionalities is what it is. So there's still the possibility that if your platform gets hacked, or if there's a certain problem that happened insolvency, then all the assets on these wallets will be gone. So I bet you've been answering this question a lot, but I just gotta ask it from my end.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we have a pretty interesting solution for this. So there is a difference between NFTs and in-game assets, right? In-game assets. In-game assets are almost no different of what already exists in Web 2, which is you can purchase a in-game asset within the game via any type of Web 2 payment channels. So in-game assets can be centralized because basically they're being used internally in the game. But when they're taken out of the game and back into your wallet, then they're reminted as NFTs, and now they are on-chain. So we have this type of very unique on-chain, off-chain dual wallet, kind of similar to Stefan, if you guys are familiar with the spending wallet, and then you're just wallet. So your wallet is decentralized, your spending wallet is centralized. So depending on where you're putting your tokens, they end up being in sort of a centralized or decentralized state. And this is not how we aimed originally to build out our product. But again, this is just the demand of not only the companies and Web2 companies that we work with, but also the user base. The user base don't want a convoluted process in terms of signing up. So basically how it works is, think about it this way. You sign up to an app, you join in through Discord, you purchase crypto with Visa, MasterCard, or some type of on-ramp channel. Now you can play the game, and you haven't even been introduced to crypto yet. You have no idea what crypto is. So this is the right path to take, right? So then what we do is we can then, when they are playing the game with that in-game asset, as they would in Web 2, and that whole experience that I just explained very feels like a Web 2 experience. So then they're at the point where, okay, now they're thinking, maybe I played this game, I like it, I understand what it is. Now I want to figure out the blockchain side of it. So let me mint this in-game asset into an NFT. And then now they've entered into NFT, but they've done it on their own. We didn't force them to do it. We didn't make them do it from the beginning. So it's that type of path that's super important for users, especially if you're focused on the Web 2 users, which we have a very big interest in onboarding. Our goal is to onboard the next 100 million Web2 users. We're not going to do that by throwing wallets in their faces in the first 2 seconds of downloading an app. So it's a very interesting custodial solution of combining centralization and decentralization to fit the need of Web2 and Web3 users.
Sounds great. I'll definitely be DMing you very soon. But yeah, well, thank you for sharing, and thank you everyone for listening. I guess I'll just have maybe should I ask one more question? Let's take a look at the time. Oh, it's 10:46.
We got time for a couple more questions.
Okay, well, maybe I'll throw in a few questions from the community and see where this takes us first. And then if we have time, we'll circle back to a few more questions we have, and then back to the community again. But yes, maybe let's throw a round of community questions out there first for our host and our guests. And then, depending on the time and the availability of our speakers and audience, let's carry on. So,
sounds good.
Yeah. What's the procedure like on this one, Cam? I believe there are also community questions being typed in your Discord or on your platform over there.
Yeah, I believe so. Let me get over to my computer real fast so I can see those.
All right. Well, in the meantime, if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question, please feel free. I'll pop you on stage while we wait for Cam to find the question. Plus.
All right, so I brought Safar up. Let's hear Safar's question once he connects.
All right. Okay.
One more time, could you ask that question? And who was it for specifically?
Sir, I want to know something. Is any Discord mode role, any Discord mode job available in your community?
At this time, for Ladder, we do not have any availability for Discord mods, but some of the other projects may. I'm not sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you for it.
Oh, that's a very energetic kid right there. Is Michael trying to speak? Michael, I see you're speaking, but there's no sound.
No, nothing from my side.
Oh, it's okay. Then. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Safar.
Yeah, thank you, Safar. Please step down when you get a chance. Okay. Let me find these questions. Oh, we've got one more request. Navanil, feel free to ask your question whenever you connect. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a question for Ladder. Given the volatility of the NFT prices, I was wondering how stable would an AMM process be, unlike some of the other currencies on which AMM is done, where the currencies are comparatively more stable. NFT prices can change quite drastically over time. So does that become a limitation over time?
I guess it really just comes down to one's conviction in an NFT collection. I feel like the consequence of impermanent loss is always there, but it really comes down to an investor's conviction in a collection. We can't guarantee that every collection will not fall victim to the volatility and the probability of impermanent loss, but it all comes down to conviction.
But I would also add, we are guaranteeing execution. If you're trying to hunt some hot selling new collections on marketplaces, most of the time you're just run out by bots and you could not buy anything that is newly listed, especially during the bull market. But with AMM, you're almost 100% guaranteed that your order will be executed, and it will be executed fast with low slippage. Of course, we could not exclude impermanent loss. We have some advantages and disadvantages, but I believe that the list of advantages is much wider.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good.
All right,
Does
thank
that
you.
answer your question, Nahum? All right, well, certainly hope that answers your question. Okay, can you guys hear me? I think I might be lagging a little bit. Am I still connected?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Getting rocked by Twitter Space. Okay, oh, cool. All right, pretty good on time. I hope the speakers I'll still have a little more time for us. First, before we dive more into the community questions, I believe most of the community questions will definitely be pointed towards Ladder, as you guys are going live 14 hours, I believe, right now. Good luck with that. I'll definitely be watching from Singapore over here. And okay, well, I do have maybe before we go on, let me quickly ask if NFTtrack and GameSpace have a bit more time to stay with us before we decide to move on to the next phase or ask more community questions. Oh, NFTtrack give us the thumbs up. Michael, do you have a time constraint over here? Oh, good. Oh, awesome. Well, I guess. How many community questions? Let me take a quick look.
So I believe we have quite a few, yeah.
We'll have quite a few. Okay, let's go one more before I go for another round of questions and findings I want to discuss a bit more with our speakers today. Let's have one more community question before we go on.
Okay, so let me find a good one here. Okay, so what is the difference between pseudo swap and ladder? And I would say for that question that our main difference would be that ladder has a long-term focus on GameFi. Pseudo swap is more for the conventional startup NFTs, tech startups you might even call them, but we were more focused on GameFi. We believe the next bull run, well, at least in my opinion, I believe the next bull run will be fueled by the adoption of gaming, mass adoption. So I would say that's the main key difference, is that focus on GameFi. Vitalis, would you agree? Would you say something different?
I don't agree. There is also some differences in tokenomics. I would say that Ladder is more focused on decentralization and community based, so our distribution is going to be very different, and I would say very different in a positive way towards community and participants.
Well, that really sounds very interesting. Two different answers, both actually very appealing to Apeiron. One on the game side and the other on the token side. This actually brings me to a point I really want to circle back first to Michael in GameSpace, because one of the main concerns when I first heard about the game developers focusing on the game development while the tokenomics and everything can be focused on by GameSpace. We did think about something like that when we were talking to a lot of investors who focus a lot on tokenizing, tokenomics and everything. But one of the main concerns that we saw, especially in the designs from games like Diablo's and World of Warcraft when they had the first, and even EVE Online when most of the initial player-based trades begin to take place, that begin to have that really had actually a lot of clashes against the community and how actually it turned out, because a lot of the game elements that were originally designed, although they had an auction house and everything in mind, they weren't exactly designed to support an entire player-based trading it actively. I mean, secondhand trades on the webs and everything happen every day, but to be able to be actively traded, it actually alters fundamentally how players receive a game. If you look at Diablo 3, it's actually one of the how the collapse of the marketplace happened. So there's always a concern to me that if traditional game developers focus back on the games without focusing on the how item economies and actually in-game currency economies actually work, without thinking through what implications having players actively trade their products are like, will still collapse the game themselves and pretty much shorten the lifespan significantly. This is actually one of the main problems with Diablo 3. Is there any education or any support that GameSpace can offer to the developers regarding how they can integrate properly this transition from Web 2 and Web 3, the integration? Because I think this is one of the main differences between the normal Web 2 game, where typically the emission and the burn rate of the items and currencies can be easily controlled because it's in a very, very controlled environment. But still, the Web 3 environment and how players exactly interact with this will ultimately be still the main topic of debate that I believe GameSpace will see, especially when more Web 2 developers venture into the Web 3 space, which I believe will definitely happen, because I do talk to a lot of other Web 2 developers. A lot of them share the concern of Web 3. In the space, there's a lot of negativity regarding Web 3 being cash grabs and everything, but I know that piques a lot of interest, and there are many developers out there that view Web 3 and ownership very differently, and they just want to find the right partners to come in and work together with them on these. How does GameSpace onboard these developers, and what support or education does GameSpace offer for them? Would be my question.
Sure. Big question and a huge answer. If you wanted me to answer it fully, I probably could do it for 1 hour. But let me get into the important details first. So I think right now the industry is obviously a bit hurt by projects that come out. And what I mean by that is, if we look at the first successful project in a certain category, so let's use Stefan as an example. So Stefan comes out, they have a healthy launch, healthy shelf life for 6 months to a year, and then the project starts to slow down and users start to no longer to be able to earn it. We can see this with Axie Infinity, and we can probably name 10 or 15 different games that are into the same issue. Then what happens is the next project copies their concept, and this project has half a shelf life of what the original one did. And then another project copies that one, and they have an even half shelf life of the second one. So then what we get is the market completely cluttered with a bunch of garbage products, where every time you go on Twitter, you see shoes this, shoes that, and metaverse is this, metaverse is that. And what this does is it really hurts the industry. It's not healthy for the ecosystem, and long term, it scares reputable Web 2 companies away from entering the space. So how do we get there? We no longer, as a community, we should be focused on building projects that are unique and provide real value to the users, and also they shouldn't 100% depend on a tokenomics. So tokenomics are arguably incredibly important for games in Web3. However, not as important as they have been in the past. So projects have focused far too much on the tokenomics, and that's mainly because the more complicated you make the tokenomics internally, the more money you can make from a project. The more simplified it is, the less money you can make. This is something that we've seen in this industry since it first came out. So I think that this topics, like for example, projects that launch NFTs and then launch tokens, but tokens don't really have much utility. It's kind of back to what I said earlier, right? Don't make decentralization to be decentralized. Don't create a token just to launch a token, unless you're just trying to do a cash grab. Well, then that's the best way to do it. But again, not great for the industry and not a great way to onboard more Web 2 companies into the industry. And as a publicly listed, if a Web 2 company is publicly listed and they're considering to move into Web 3, that's a fairly big risk for them. They can actually really tarnish their Web 2 brand if they enter the space and maybe don't have the right success that they were hoping, or their product gets hacked or something out of their control. So, companies like to remain where they are and stay safe where they are, and I totally understand that. And this is a conversation that we've had a million times with multiple different Web2 gaming companies. They say, Web3 sounds very interesting, but I think we're going to look at the space for a couple of years and figure out, where it's going, where it's headed. Because at the moment, it just seems a little bit too cluttered with a lot of noise. And so, we definitely want to. At GameSpace, we focus on really working with good projects, and we turn down projects that we can see that are not particularly great for the space, or just some type of copy project that comes in. And considering that we charge for our SDK, turning down projects is not something we want to do, but for the overall ecosystem, it's something we should do. So we think this is incredibly important. Moving forward into the industry is as a whole, we should try to stop these types of copy projects that come out and either rug pull or make a lot of money quickly, or provide very quick liquidity and great volume for user trading, and it lasts a very short amount of time, and in the end ultimately users get hurt, which draws more users away from the industry. So I think there's a lot of things that go into your to answering your question, but those are the things that are, I think, the most important to me.
Cool. Well, I think this definitely leads straight into NFTtrack's stance. We'll definitely want to see how the trends have been evolving over these past months, especially for the copy trading. I believe NFT flipping has made a lot of degens, and also made and broke many dreams. But I really want to see how the trends are. I guess. I do believe the flipping is still there. Probably the even faster iterations and paces now than ever. But once this all gets over, I believe there's always projects going to be flipping. Will always be a strategy out there. But what interesting new things will evolve? Definitely be where the next paradigm lies. But before I go straight for NFTs, for the NFTtrack regarding this answer, I just want to. For some of the developers out there, from their sense of view, is that one of the things that a lot of developers focus on tokenomics in the beginning was actually because of the transition from DeFi to NFT. What I mean is, DeFi definitely took center stage for the rise of the early wave of crypto, together with XE actually, but that is why a lot of funding, when a lot of games look into developing into Web3, well, of course, they will first look into funding. Funding comes either via NFT mints or via VC funds. Most VC funds, and also actually minters, especially in the GameFi space, actually are more accustomed to the rise of DeFi tokens. And so they are, of course, more generally very concerned with how this integrates into the game, and hence there was a huge wave of games that, the first wave is not even games. They are just gamified DeFi projects with no game. And then came clones, and then came certain projects or portable projects that slapped an XE token on it and called them a GameFi project. But then there are many more new games. I've been talking to AMAs with many newer games of the generations that came after May that have really a lot of interesting solutions, and would definitely love to introduce a lot of them to the rate. But like the bubble before us, the investment phase, the asset bubble phase is over. With the recessions coming, with the inflations, investments will slow drastically, and it's going to be a whole new world out there. Not a very pretty world, but yes, definitely looking forward what new trends will emerge. And I don't want to babble on. This is not my AMA. I'm actually glad I'm.
No, you're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
So I don't have to babble on. I would love to hear other people babble on instead of myself.
Have we
put you guys to sleep.
I feel like we should go to them.
Yeah, Yeah, and this absolutely leads into NFTtrack. So what do you see? What have you learned from the data, and what aspirations do you have for the coming markets? Would you like to share what ultimately NFTtrack wants to bring to the space, and how it is all evolving? Please.
Well, hi. Just quickly introduce myself. Can you hear my voice?
Oh, yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. And my name is Sophie. I work with Ray, who was in charge of this account earlier during the space. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the host, and thank you for everyone shared. That was a great conversation. I just wanted to quickly take on where Michael and Lara and everyone has mentioned before. Well, NFTtrack itself as a tool, we do provide a platform for everyone to share and to track all the projects. We do, as you guys already mentioned already, there were cash grabbing, there were rug pulls, scammers, and that drains your wallet. A lot of bad players still in the market because we're still early in the NFT space, and it's not fully regulated yet. So I know it's very unfortunate, but as a tool ourselves, we're trying to provide a platform for everyone to share information with each other, not only us as a data provider, but also every single user could be a data point. So we have recently launched this feature that if you do think a certain project is a rug puller, it's a scammer, you can report a specific project on our platform, and with certain amount of report we received, we will flag that project with a big signal right next to the project name, so people sees it, they know this is something they might want to avoid. Again, it's not a financial advice. Do your own research, but it's definitely a good information for everyone to reference on. It's better than nothing. That at least help you to think twice before you actually link in. So, we're trying to do our part to prevent those, let's say, bad players in the market to drain more liquidities out of this current NFT market. So the good investors, the money that who wanted to invest and stay in the NFT market can stay longer and participate in the right projects. The better the communities that they deserve to be in. So that's one thing that we have launched recently. Hopefully that helps most of the users to as an indicator, I guess. Well, personally, I think it just NFT industry is still in its early stage, and probably it's again we would experience a similar story as the SEO booming earlier. That it's it's sad that 90% of the project would die over time. Again, that mostly includes some cash grabbing and funding team without a clear goal or like good utilities and all that. But I'm sure good teams, good project with a destination, with a mission, with responsibilities and all that will last and will stay at the end of the day. And the builders who are still here during this bear market, whoever is still on the stage, I'm sure we build and we polish our project and we listen to our communities, our users or our holders. We will make it through the bear market and will be the 10% or the 5% that will still stay active in this market at the end of until the bull market comes again. Right. that's just a couple thoughts I wanted to share with everyone here.
That's
Thank
great.
you very much.
Thank you. And actually, I have one quick question for NFTtrack. It may not be that quick, but I'm actually very
Sure.
curious as to the business model of NFTtrack. So ultimately, how do you guys make money or sustain in the end?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure if Ray has mentioned it already. Our NFT tool is fully free for all our users at the moment. Well, we actually already financed our project, so we have sufficient amount of funding to help us go through this bear market. So that's not our first priority. We just wanted to make sure that we take this bear market as our polishing period to make sure we get the best product for our user, to give them the best user experience. As long as our user loves our product, I'm sure that when we need to generate profit, our user will still stick with us, use our project. But anyway, our user experience always comes first before we generate any profit anyway. So we were lucky enough to have a good and strong dev team behind us supporting this project, and we have a good amount of users that providing suggestions in our Discord. For anyone that hasn't followed our Twitter account or hasn't joined our Discord, we highly recommend and welcome you to do so. And also, of course, to anyone that's on the stage, the speakers, I'm sure they are from great projects as well. But if you have any questions, any suggestions and feedbacks, please do not hesitate to send to us through a DM or through our Twitter, Discord. Our dev team are pretty good at quickly fixing any bugs or making any features come true, making user streams come true when they're sending a request for some sort of features. So we pretty much have a new version comes out every other week, if not, let's say every week, if not every other week. That gives users new experience with new features. A lot of our users happen to tell me that, oh my god, I haven't really opened my phone, like my app, for like a month, and this seems to be a completely new app to me because we have renewed ourselves so quickly and try to keep up with this NFT space and give everyone a better experience every other day. So we are blessed to have a great user base and a great dev team to be on the both end. So through this bear market, generating profit is never our first thing. It's probably not going to happen for another year or so before we are satisfied and our users are satisfied with our product. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Certainly does. I think one of the ways to stay ahead of the storms or to survive the storms is definitely to maintain speed so you can steer and steer to clear of the waves, and being able to adapt and change on the fly to adapt to the storms that is coming in 2023 is definitely one thing that ensures the survival of a lot of companies other than just maintaining burn rates and hunker their heads down. Being able to pivot and change is one of the things that every Web3 company should definitely put a lot of focus on.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I'm very glad to listen to all these stuff. Learned a lot and got a lot of important material I wish to talk about on the coming weekend. And again, just the lineup here is also great actually. From beginnings, from learning crypto or learning NFTs as a beginner, you can get NFTtracks, and then if faced with liquidity problems or anything, there's Ladder. If you're looking for projects that can cross-train or can focus more on Well, actually, the tokenomic side and the game development side on a more separate end to have someone source better projects and have those projects solve that adoption problem, which is actually a huge problem. Believe me, I've done 2 mints, and we were on Polygon, we're not on Ethereum, but still, just that 1 or 2 extra clicks actually mean 20 to 30% uses, lazy uses, and people were actually interested. It's actually significant. So we definitely need everyone working together in order to truly thrive in this space. And well, Apeiron holds a very open invitation to work together with fellow developers. A lot to learn, a lot for us to focus on as well as our game launch and demo approaches. Very quickly. So before we go on to, well, maybe asking what the upcoming roadmaps or stuff, and imparting words, let's go for another round of community questions. And then I'll ask Leonard some questions I really want to ask myself as well, and then tie everything up.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can find here.
Oh, thanks, Ken.
Okay, so what is some advice for NFT hodlers to survive through and benefit from this crypto bear market? So what's some good advice for NFT hodlers to survive and thrive in this bear market?
NFT howlers? Did you say what did you?
They meant to say holders. They spelled it hodlers. You know, as a model.
So. Okay. Well, so
I figure this is a question for all of us. So, do you guys want to go first? NFTtrack in GameSpot?
Sure.
NFTtrack take this one because they are the ones who track all the all the hardcore ones.
Sure. Well, I guess during the bear market, one of the first things is you want to survive. Right, you stay alive till the bull market comes. So, with that being said, you want to make sure you protect your wallet, and of course, store your crypto coins on your like MetaMask or your ledgers, whatever you own your key, and not try not to store your cryptocurrency that on a platform like FTX. So that's one thing. But then also another risk you might facing is that some of users might use their wallet to mint some free mints or some like scammer projects, then end up losing all their NFT assets and also their crypto coins. That's something that could be dramatically harmful. We wanted to avoid that at all means, which also lead us to generate that new feature that I just mentioned. So I hope everyone started to be generous to share those unfortunate tragedies to warn the rest of the players in the market to make sure that to prevent that happen as soon as possible, and share that information on our platform or any other platforms that you can find. So kind of helping each other out. And one other thing that I could maybe make a suggestion is that following the whales. If you on our app, there's a feature. It's called Whales Formal. So, which means like within the past 1 hour or so, we give you a count of how many whales in total, and how many NFTs they have picked up for a certain for each project, and the project with the most whales that formal in will rank on top of that list. If you see 23 whales, for example, I'm just saying random, if you see like 16 whales formal into the same project, I wouldn't say 100%, but at least 90% of that, 90% of the chances that project is a legit project. At least it's not a rug puller or wallet drainer. I'm not saying that you're 100% gonna win making a profit out of that project, but it's at least most likely it's safe, right? With a good chance you might take a profit with that also. That's so. And we're trying to provide more features as a good reference, giving users more data point for everyone to survive during the bear market, and also make profit at the same time. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. That was great advice. I would say, and from my experience, that if you're planning to hold through this market, I would put it away in your hardware wallet and just not pay any attention until the next bull market. I feel like that's probably the best advice if you're not trying to play the game of possibly catching the falling knife, as they call it. Like, it's just tough. I saw some good buys when FTX crashed recently, and then USD price or NFTs recovered as far as USD, and that would have been a good flip, but it was just too much of a risk. So if you're not willing to take the risk throughout this market, I would just put it away in your hardware wallet and wait a couple of years and come back to it.
Indeed. Well, Michael, do you have anything to add regarding either NFT holding or regarding just maybe even from your end, maybe how developers can survive these times or what they should be focusing on?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about the investor side, I think it's different. Do you mean developers or investors?
Well, you can, anything you can shed your light on would be great.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as someone who's been through now two bears and two bulls, I think that there's the opportunity to make money in either. Obviously, in the bull market, it's much more fruitful. But there's also a lot of interesting DeFi tools that exist now to even earn money in bear markets. I won't get into the details of that. You can explore that avenue on your own. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely opportunities for money to be earned in these times. But stick to the principles that apply even to traditional investment. Always do your own research. Always validate and verify projects based on who their team is, where they come from, their experience in the industry, which partners that their project is connected with. Very important to weigh a lot of different options when you're actually looking to invest into a project. And of course, the very obvious one that I think people forget very often is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification is incredibly important. There's a reason why traditional stock markets have been doing that for over 100 years is if you put everything in one basket, even with the recent FTX, I mean, we can see projects that are massive and have a lot of trust in the industry. If someone put their entire wealth into one platform, there's almost, in my opinion, there's almost two parties to blame. Of course, the blame is much more on the FTX side, but just diversify, right? Like don't keep too much in a centralized exchange. Keep enough for what you need to do. Like if you have one of the fiat crypto credit cards and you use like crypto.com or Binance for that type of thing, keep a few $100s in there. Don't stack up 10 grand in a centralized exchange just because you never know. Keep things safe in cold wallets or hardware wallets, I think, as Ladder mentioned earlier. So I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can stay safe, and I think a lot of the people that have been in the industry a while know that. The new people that have joined maybe in just the last 2 years, maybe they haven't experienced these types of things, and so I hope people that have been in the industry long, such as myself, can help educate users a bit better to be safe. And don't reply to Twitter DMs. Never send money to people that are not from a trusted source. Always verify official accounts through Telegram by getting them to DM you through Twitter. I mean, there's so many ways to stay safe. Just think twice before you send money to people. And kind of the last thing I want to add is what's interesting about the bear market is a lot of projects will implement a lot of airdrop activities. So I think there are still ways to get free tokens, free NFTs through projects without even having to spend any money. And then you can decide after you get those NFTs whether or not you want to further invest into that type of project. I mean, with Aptos, for example, lots of users got thousands of USDT from their airdrop. So, there are definitely opportunities out there, but always stay safe and stay vigilant.
Cool. Sounds wonderful. Well, I guess I'll wrap up a little bit from my end. Well, I'm a pretty bleak person, and I hold a very dim view of 2023. And I don't hold as much experience in crypto, but I have been in the financial market for a long time. So I usually give this advice for those who are actually really, really hurt, such as by the FTX or the Luna incidents. I usually advise people to take a break and step away. A lot of people, when they're hurt or experience a really, really sharp loss, they try to make tilted decisions, as in poker, that they make not the brightest and best judgments because they're trying to get everything back in a short period of time frame, especially in these markets. It's actually almost going to fail. It's actually more prudent to at these times to just take a break from it, realize your losses, and try to stay away from it and level your head before coming back in. Otherwise, you'll be finding yourselves making a lot of hasty decisions, catching these falling knives, listening to sort of few percent of the success cases, and then eventually getting yourself even into more shittiness, is what I've seen too many times, too far apart. So as hard as you can, try and take a break if you suffered heavy losses. If not, then it's a good time to review your position and your liquidity. Maybe try to get a job before the job market shrinks even further, and balance those checkbooks, and that's how you stay alive. And for liquidity wise, if you're having troubles paying the bills and everything, then you must have placed a lot of eggs in the same basket. Try to avoid doing that, and just remain financially sound as to just face reality. Well, get a job, liquidate assets, stay alive, do what you're going to do to survive. Michael's right. There's a lot of projects out there. Well, not to show my own, but Apeiron included, we do a lot of community events. In the build phase, for a lot of developers in Web3, other than building their projects, is to maintain the community, the grassroots, and the core of the Web3 projects are the community. So a lot of people, especially when marketing budgets have become so ineffective in crypto, a lot of developers will focus their funds on maintaining their core user crowds and attract passionate and loyal users to their communities. It would be a good time for them to give out rewards. Apeiron gives some certain rewards. We try not to give out too many game balance affecting rewards because not trying to sacrifice the future game economy for users. But still, we give out a lot of different types of rewards, even cash rewards for those who play some games and learn more about us. So yeah, go out and explore. There are many other projects out there. But yeah, don't do any decisions. That's my final word.
Great advice.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for asking the questions today and keeping the conversation flow going. I appreciate NFTtrack and Michael for coming out and speaking. One last announcement I'm going to make is that in about 13 and a half hours, we are going to be launching our testnet round 2 for the AMM protocol. We're going to be doing an NFT trading simulator. So if you want to gain some trading experience or win some prizes, make sure you click on the whitelist form above and submit your information. Also, make sure to check out NFTtrack's App 2.0. It's officially released. And Michael, Apeiron, do you guys have anything else you want to say?
Well, not really. Being the host, I have the pleasure to not travel on and on about my own projects. I'll leave the time to the speakers, so they can tell us some of the more important updates coming up next for their projects.
Gotcha. Okay. Michael, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, also not too big into shilling. I enjoy Twitter Spaces to be much more informative, and that's actually how we can grow better as an ecosystem. I mean, I basically covered the points that GameSpace does, and look forward to the industry growing in a positive direction, and see where everyone comes out when the bull hits us. So yeah, thanks for the invite, and stay safe.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
And NFTtrack, any parting words?
Oh, well, just again wanted to thank you for having us today here, and it was a pleasure to share some thoughts on the NFT industry for an hour here, and it was very informative. I think we pretty much covered some highlights that we could offer in the app. If you think you're interested and you need a NFT tool on your mobile while you're away from your desktop, then feel free to download us. And if you have any questions, I will see you in our Discord, I guess. We'll continue the conversation there. But all the best to Ladder for your launching, and thank you again for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Track.
Thank you. Well, I'll be seeing a lot of you guys more after we launch our demo in December and talk about the partnerships that Apeiron could potentially have with each and every one of you. And I guarantee I'll find you. This is the word from the co-founder. So yes, very excited and very glad to be invited here to co-host. I rarely host anything. I'm usually the one babbling on and on. Had fun. Thank you. I learned a lot, and thank you everyone for listening to my very, very inexperienced co-hosting of an event. But definitely, hope you guys check out Ladder.
You did great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken. And yeah, well, have a great night or a great day, guys. Great week ahead.
All right. Thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you next time.